The UN International Organization for Migration has reiterated its call for the federal government to prioritize the interest of youths in advancing migration governance. Mr. Lawrence Dubuque, chief of IOM mission in Nigeria, disclosed this in an interview with the News Agency of Nigeria in Abuja. He spoke in view of the IOM 2022 to 2024 Impact Assessment on Migration, saying, although government made efforts to tackle migration-related issues, high internal and external migration still persists.
We see statistically, there are still, unfortunately, people who are suffering of that, who have been abused, and we end up in very complex situations, either stranded in a country, being intercepted by police in those countries, somehow mistreated, or certainly facing difficult issues in terms of dignity and how to face back their parents, their siblings, their community when they are forced to come back without having succeeded. So despite the fact that we have made progress, when I say we, is the government, the states at the federal level and the state level, and with us supporting, I think it remains to be a priority, is to ensure that the youth made the right choice, informed choice of going. And there are possibilities, so that's why we have put as a priority for the next years regular pathways, and we are in very advanced discussion with the government and some third countries to look at how we can identify regular pathways for the youth who want to go. But going shouldn't be the panacea and the only solution. We want to also engage with the private sector in the country, with employers, for improving conditions of work and availability of employment. So moving into employability, skills acquisition, working on vocational training, private sector engagement, for example, with Cisco recently is an example of we can do it. Wherever people are, and we have focused on Borno for the time being, people who have been displaced, we can increase their capacity to actually value them feeling capable to enter and work into the society in Nigeria. And when I reached out here, Nigeria almost 2 years ago, there was a very high focus on Northeast, rightly so, for the situation of high displacement. But I think it had a little bit shadowed the displacement in the rest of the country, which was also important, maybe at a lesser extent and for different reasons, more development oriented. But in Northwest, North Central, when I asked to analyze the displacement in numbers, but also qualitatively of the effect on the population, I could see that it was a little bit dramatic and not addressed. So it was part of a kind of a battle I started in raising awareness through statistics, but also qualitative assessment of the situation of the people in accessing basic services in Northwest, North Central. And for those periods where I basically advocated with the government at the federal level, also at the state level, and then with all the partners of the international community, what I see is that it's an increase attention, a very high commitment of governors in a people-focused approach on services, peace and reconciliation, mitigation measures, which reflect also us opening an office in Katsina, more recently in Benue. We are assessing and working with the government in Kano on the same. We have received and discussed very positively with Zamfara, with Sokoto. We receive interest from Niger State. We have been called by Enugu. So it reflects, and not only, but also Plateau, where we are about to embark into a new activity as well to support the displaced people. So we have looked at the quantity but also the quality, and work with the government on how can we address this by developing roadmaps for them to engage, what can we do, what other partners can do.